What is up, guys? It's your boy, Rip Headphone Users Cacus, and today we are going to be showcasing an incredibly powerful Titan Solar build. This is definitely my most played build during Season of the Haunted Season 17 for Destiny 2. If I'm doing stuff like farming Nightmare Containments or the new dungeon, I'm generally using this because it makes me not need to pay attention. As you saw from the beginning of the video, the survivability of this build is through the roof. It is sometimes nearly impossible to die, and I'm not even exaggerating. During times when someone has forgotten to rally the flag and everyone's like, okay, just wipe, I actually have to change stuff around in my inventory or I can't die, just like the beginning of the video. That was a scenario where that happened. I was trying to stand there and wipe with the team and I couldn't be killed. So yeah, this build's nuts. Let's get into it. First things first, the centerpiece of this build is going to be the Loreley Splendor Helmet. This exotic helmet just arrived last season, and what it does is the following. When you are critically wounded with full class ability energy, or when you cast a barricade, create a sunspot at your location that has improved restoration effects. So, essentially, it can either turn your barricade into a healing rift, and frankly, using the Loreley Splendor completely negates the reason to use Classy Restoration, which is one of the best and most popular artifact mods for this season. Make no mistake, Classy Restoration is fantastic. However, if you're using the Loreley, you can, slot in a different mod, spend those 6 energy points, which is a lot, elsewhere. Not to mention the fact that the auto cast of a sunspot on critical wound is frankly unbelievable. Like, that is going to get you out of so many binds when you don't have to go through the whole animation of casting, a barricade. It's just, oh, you got hit, you're wounded, and in that split second, your exotic is already working and dropping that healing for you. And again, that healing is better than normal, as if you were to go over just another random sunspot. Now, the next thing you absolutely want to have is 100 resilience. Resilience got a massive buff this season, and now it provides PvE damage resistance. So this is going to give you 40% damage reduction, which is just unbelievable all the time for doing nothing, basically. And it is going to let you get your barricade back, which means not only are you able to, cast it more often, summon that sunspot more often, but it also means that the critically wound threshold will trigger more often. As long as you have a charged barricade, you can get critically wounded pretty close together, and it will drop a sunspot each time if your barricade can recharge fast enough. Now, moving on to the fragments, aspects, and abilities I would recommend. Firstly, you should be using the Soul Invictus Solar aspect. This is going to make it so that solar ability final blows, your super impacts, and defeating scorched targets will create sunspots, and your abilities regenerate faster, and of course you heal while inside that sunspot. But also, sunspots will apply a scorch and deal damage to targets inside them. So that is actually really, really important, because this means that when you create a sunspot via your Loreley Helm, let's say it was a critically wound activation, if enemies are nearby, and if you're critically wounded, there's a good chance they are, then they're going to be scorched, which is going to potentially spawn more sunspots from them if they die from that scorch, just meaning more regeneration, more abilities, just insane. Now, the other aspect is Roaring Flames, where final blows with solar abilities or ignitions increase the damage of your solar abilities stacks 3 times. Great, and 2 fragment slots is great as well. And for the barricades, really up to you. I usually use Towering Barricade, but I've actually been using Rally Barricade just so that I can use it more proactively, and because I'm in that sunspot, I have all the protection I need, and then I can engage enemies right in front of me. I don't have to kind of peek out from behind that Towering Barricade. But moving on to the fragments, guys, the one that is essential that you have to use is definitely Ember of Singeing. This frankly brings the whole build together. Your class ability recharges faster when you scorch targets. So, like I said, dropping a sunspot from Loreley activation, that provides a scorch. now you're getting your barricade faster. So you're going to be able to activate those critically wounded thresholds more often. You're going to be able to, proactively spawn barricades more often. And your abilities are creating sunspots. That's all providing Scorch. You're getting everything more often. Such an important fragment. And there's actually even more synergies we have with this fragment that we're going to talk about later. But continuing with the fragments, we also then have Ember of Ashes, where you apply more Scorch stacks to targets. So when an enemy has received enough Scorch stacks, it's going to ignite, causing an area of effect explosion, dealing additional damage. So we're doing a lot of Scorch, just leaning even further into that is amazing. Then we have Ember of Eruption. Your solar ignitions have increased area of effect. Like I said, guys, we are popping off with Scorch. We're getting a lot of ignitions. This is just pure upside. And then we have Ember of Torches, where powered melee attacks against combatants will make you and nearby allies radiant for that damage boost. But moving on from there, let's talk mods and weaponry. Frankly, you could now take this build in several different directions. You could use something like Flame Harvesting, where solar exotic final blows create an insane amount of solar elemental wells. Combine that with something like Well of Life for nearly 100% restoration uptime. Even more survivability for this build. It just spirals out of control as long as you have an incredible solar exotic like the Sunshot here, the Teraba, the Vex Mythoclast, the Lament, the Galahorn. Frankly, it's a pretty big list of super powerful solar exotics. But if you don't want to do that, what I would highly recommend doing instead is actually utilizing a weapon with the brand new perk Incandescent. So what this says is the following: defeating a target spreads Scorch to those nearby. More powerful combatants and opposing guardians cause Scorch in a larger radius. Guys, Incandescent, which spawns on stuff like the Callus mini tool, probably where it's going to be best. 900 RPM SMGs are super meta right now. It also spawns on the new Without Remorse solar shotgun, and even the fixed odds solar machine gun from the dungeon. But this perk synergizes unbelievably well with your build. Remember how we talked about scorching targets is going to not only give you more class ability energy, and as you can see when I'm popping off with my SMG, my class ability is up in seconds, but also defeating scorched targets creates even more sunspots, which spreads even more scorch. It just gets out of control so darn quickly. But whatever direction you decide to go in, whether it's charged with light or war mine cells or whatever, the stuff I would recommend is that Well of Life mod if you have a way to produce solar elemental wells, because that is really the best payoff for collecting solar elemental wells. And also I would highly recommend a Font of Might, where picking up again those solar elemental wells gives solar weapons 25% increased damage. You have an insane amount of survivability with this build, but you can struggle a little bit with damage output. Font of Might is going to help that amazingly. So honestly, just that Callus mini tool with Incandescent and then a Galahorn or Lament combined with Font of Might, Well of Life, and any sort of way to produce solar elemental wells, and you're good. Like, that's really all you need for a super high functioning build. And the rest is really up to you. Again, if you can fit on high energy fire, elemental charge, like all these different directions you could go, but that is the baseline framework for an unbelievably powerful build with just probably the best survivability I've ever seen. I made a video last season taking the Void Titan to its absolute limits in terms of survivability, exploiting the crap out of Well of Tenacity, and that was insane. But with the changes to resilience and how much restoration you can get with this build, I think it honestly surpasses it. Guys, that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus, that is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, Have a good day.